What up, everyone? Welcome into the Full Coverage Football Show. Tonight's show, we got a banger for you. We're talking college football playoffs. We're talking trade deadline. We're talking all kinds of random things. And we're doing all that right around this.
It's the worst.
Beyond the Texans?
Yes.
Giants?
Yes.
What is up, good people? Welcome into the Full Coverage Football Show. My name is Jeremy, and that is the only guy I would want to face Shooter McGavin if my grandma was getting her house taken away. Mr. Drew Ward, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. I hope your grandma's not in some situation like that, but
No.
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Grandma's good. They're both dead, actually. But anyway, I'm doing all right. Welcome into the Full Coverage Football Show. We got a banger of a show for you, as always. We're going to start out first with ridiculousness, like we always do. And that is with last week first. Drew, last week, football was great. We had Ohio State versus Penn State in a hell of a football game. Dak and CD got hurt. We had a Saquon hurdle for the ages. Your boys, Goff and Amon-Ra, are like 30 straight completions, untouchable when they throw the ball to each other. We had a Kansas City overtime walk-off. Mike Thomas went off on Derek Carr after he almost killed Chris Olave. Bryce Young got a game win. He played. Flacco was DJ Moore walked off the field. Drew, last week first, what do you got for us from last week that you want to talk about?
I mean, the Buckeyes, I guess. I thought that was a fantastic game. I think Ohio State needed that as far as their offensive line was concerned. I mean, you're starting a brand new left tackle. They haven't been able to run the ball. I could argue that Chip Kelly's kind of gone away from the run extremely early, especially when you get Judkins as a transfer from Ole Miss and you have Travion Henderson. Like, this team is built to run the ball and work the play action, and they did that on Saturday, and that's a big win going into Happy Valley. The fact it wasn't a night game is crazy to me. But that was my stand away from the weekend, because it was like, let's be honest, like, we didn't know what the Buckeyes really were.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, they hung with Oregon, but this was a big win because now they kind of have a cake schedule to the playoff, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But that was a big win for the Buckeyes on Saturday.
It was a massive win for the Buckeyes because of that goal line stand and the fact that both the offensive and defensive lines finally lived up to what we've expected. And you said it with the run. They've gone away from it.
Dude, on that goal line. Like, what was the 4-play calls that he was fucking thinking? Like, what they did at the goal line. I mean, they essentially threw it 3 times from the one. Not sure what we're doing with that.
You think James Franklin's got in his head how much he struggles against big teams? You think his asshole just puckers up at the end? He's like, they're not going to expect this. Let's try this.
I don't think that he certainly hears the noise, right? I mean, it's hard not to. You're 1-16 or, whatever when you play a big boy opponent. But like, to me, it's like that right there is malpractice, what he did. And Ohio State's a good team. Penn State's also a very good football team. But yeah,
but who did they beat?
He knows. James Franklin knows like that he needs to win one of these big games. Luckily for him, the college football playoffs expanded, and he's going to get the opportunity more than likely.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're 7th in the college football playoffs, but who have they played? Who have they beat? I mean, no one.
See, but that's the thing, though. Like, with college, it's like a lot of the teams you're gonna be able to say that to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's my thing. It's like, who have they beaten? Well, like, in college, you play who you play. Yeah, sometimes you play, some shit school you're going to win 56-0. And sometimes you play real schools. And being in the SEC, of course, they play real schools. We're getting to the point soon where all schools are going to be playing legitimate games on a week-to-week basis, and I think that's what everybody wants.
Yeah, I think the Big Ten eventually is going to figure out what to do with their 27 team schedule here. How they're going to figure out what to do with it. Is 18 teams now, like 18 teams in the Big Ten, and we got like years where you're going to play all cupcake schedule, like the bottom 8 teams. They're going to figure that out eventually.
Yes, I agree.
What did you think about the Cowboys last week? Dak getting hurt on what seemed to be just a normal play on a warmed up athlete where you wouldn't expect his hamstring to tear like that. And then CD gets the AC joint. Like, Cowboys going to win a game the rest of the year. Dak going to come back.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to. I mean, but I get what you're saying. I mean, Cowboys fans are probably drinking the bleach or doing the fake jump off the, the balcony kind of deal. I hope Kyle Anderson's listening because this is hilarious for him. And then it not only that, right? You get a dinged up quarterback, your best player, hands down. You could say Micah Parsons, he's not playing.
Mm-mm.
Your best player, hands down, is injured now. And then you go and get trade raped by a team that gets trade raped by everybody. Maybe rape's not a great word in this economy. You got taken advantage of.
You did. You got Deshaun Watson. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's just like, to me, it's like, okay. The problem is when you have an owner like Jerry Jones, I don't think anybody's sitting here thinking that the Cowboys necessarily right now are a playoff team. You lose Dak, he's on the IR, but the injury sounds like to be probably 6 weeks, not just a 4-week IR stint. So, like, what are you when we turn around and we're 6 weeks later? So, for Dallas to not actually be on the opposite side and sell, but the problem is you're never going to sell with Jerry Jones as your owner.
Mm-hmm.
Because if for whatever reason he thinks that this team can still compete, the team can't run, the team's mediocre defensively, the offensive line has holes. Like the Cowboys went from the best offensive line in football 2 or 3 years ago, right? We're not talking a super long time ago.
It wasn't that long
now
ago.
It's not good. And don't get me wrong, like having Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, like it's not good for them. And so I see why they're struggling. But yeah, this team, for them to turn around and trade for Mingo for a 4th-round pick is wild to me. And that 4th-round pick's going to end up being a high 4th-round bid because the Cowboys are shit.
Yeah, we'll talk more about trade deadline later. But, when I look at that trade for them, it's basically what Dallas does when they trade, it seems, is obviously they gave up way too much for a guy who, since 2000, is the 526th ranked out of 526 wide receivers as far as depth of target. His depth of target, on average, since he's come in the league, is less than 3/4 of a yard. Like, this is a guy who apparently is just getting screens thrown to him. Now, the thing is, like, I text you about it when this happened. Like, he's got the body of A.J. Brown, but he plays like a Cleveland Brown right now, and that's not a good thing to give up a 4th-round pick for. We're going to talk more about the trade deadline later, but we probably weren't even going to bother to bring that up because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And for Kyle, who was on the show a few weeks ago talking about thinking he's going to get 9 wins, that 9 wins looks like a pipe dream right now.
I think if you're a Cowboys fan, though, you're kind of just wanting for the shit to hit the fan, and so you get rid of Mike McCarthy. You can kind of reset where you're at. But yeah, I mean, again, now you like the offense had some weapons. Like Jake Ferguson's been irrelevant for the entire season now. So clearly their offense isn't clicking. They have issues, and they did something that they think that it's going to solve the set issues, but it's just not.
No, it's not. And you look at the Cowboys are 3-5 right now. Cooper Rush coming in. How many weeks do you give Cooper Rush before you say, hey, listen, Dak's got his hamstring possibly torn off the bone. And if it's torn off the bone, he's probably not going to come back this season, especially if at that point you're 3-7, let's see, that'd be what? They're 3-5 now. So let's say 5 weeks. Let's say you're 4-9, 3-10. At what point do you start to say, hey, there's another guy who we gave up way too much for, who's not very good, who was the 3rd overall pick in the draft at one point in Trey Lance. When do they move to Trey Lance from Cooper Rush?
What they should do is do it this week.
I'm with you. Why not?
Like, I mean, Cooper Rush and Cooper Rush is going to be a backup for a while. And I'm not saying he's the worst ever. I've seen Tim Boyle. I've seen David Blau.
Whoa. We don't talk about former Browns and Lions legend David Blau like that.
But I mean, honestly, it's like you traded a significant draft pick. I believe it was a 4th rounder. I could be wrong. To go and get Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
He's never actually started an NFL game in his entire career. Why not? Right. And trust me, I get that it's not the greatest setup for the young man, but you're a 3rd stringer.
Yeah.
And if you're the Cowboys, it's like you see what you have in him. And because it's time to, I mean, at the end of the year, it's, put up or shut up. And they're not going to extend him at all. So it's like, see what the guy's got. I don't think he's any good, but either's Cooper Rush. So why not?
Cooper Rush won them a few games a few years ago. He's fine, whatever. But for the Cowboys, maybe time to move on. And the thing with the Cowboys is, if I'm a Cowboys fan, the thing I'm scared about is, let's say they end up losing out. You fire Mike McCarthy. You've got Dak, who's the highest paid quarterback. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, hey, you got a visitor making a show debut.
You want to say hello?
What's up, kiddo?
He said, what's up?
What's up?
All right, go back to bed. I'm doing something. Love you. Bye. Sorry about that, folks.
Debut.
Yeah. Yeah. She may have had too much sugar. I'm gonna put it that way.
Getting into that Halloween candy still?
No. So not to get off track, because this is not.
That's
my
what
wife's
we do here.
out of town all weekend.
So
she was making like treats and shit for her and her girlfriends, and yeah, my daughter probably ate too many cupcakes, and so get out of here. So yeah, so that's where we're at.
You got her over there mainlining sugar.
Yeah, pretty much.
What I was saying with the Cowboys is,
Sorry.
if I'm a Cowboys fan, what I'm worried about is, they fire Mike McCarthy. Let's say they lose out. They go 3-14 or something. They lose out. You fire Mike McCarthy. You get the first pick, and Shedeur Sanders is sitting there. They end up taking Shedeur Sanders and doing something crazy like hiring Dion to be the head coach. Like, could you see that actually? I know it's ridiculous.
No, I can't, because the money tied into Dak.
Oh, I get that, but Jerry
I
plays
mean,
by his own
if
rules.
anybody's going to do it, it's going to be the dude that probably should be in a nursing home. I don't disagree with that aspect of it, but to me, it's like, I don't know, man. Mike McCarthy, I think even bringing Mike McCarthy back this year after what happened in the playoffs against Green Bay was questionable to start with. And then the way this offense has looked this year, I mean, let's not act like this team's not talented. They have talent. It's just they're playing the talent that they're putting out on the field is underperforming. The coaching's underperforming, and I think it falls on the coaching. I mean, think about this offense with Derrick Henry. It's a different offense. It's better. Derrick Henry would have went there. They didn't have any money, right? Like, so it's starting to come to the point where to me, it's not Mike McCarthy. I don't think is good. The player, it falls with Jerry Jones, because what happens is over time, when you draft like you've drafted, when you pay who you pay, you get into a position where it's tough. And I think that's kind of where they're at right now. And like the thing that the Lions have done, and they haven't hit it yet into cap hell, but like the Lions have done a good job of like drafting guys and then being able to pay those said guys. Where I think right now the Cowboys aren't drafting well enough to where I mean, look at the fucking running backs, dude. Look at the running backs.
Everything you're saying right now about the Cowboys is something you could say about a lot of teams in the NFL right now where they're not drafting well. And that's what has set your team up for the future as opposed to other teams, including one pretty close to my heart who has not drafted all that well. But anything else you want to talk about from last week before we move on into headlines?
Cowboys suck.
Cowboys do suck.
That's
Moving
all
on
I
into
got.
headlines. Speaking of teams that suck, Dennis Allen, New Orleans Saints. We've said it on the show before. Can't trust a guy with two first names. Dennis
True.
Allen fired. Special teams coach Darren Rizzi, takes over. Also fired this week. Luke Getsy gets fired in Oakland or in Vegas. Why can't we ever figure out where the Raiders are anymore?
Because they're supposed to be back at Oak.
They should be.
And we refuse to accept it. Nobody
And
in Las Vegas gives a shit about the
They play
Oakland Raiders.
17 road games. They're basically what the Chargers are in LA.
Nobody cares about them in Vegas. It's like if I'm going to Vegas, I'm like, oh, let's catch a Raiders game. Nobody says that.
If
Nobody's doing
the Lions are there, you're going.
Well, that's
Otherwise,
fair.
probably not. I mean, I wanted to go out to the Browns one. I sold my ticket for twice I paid for it because I was like, I saw those prices. I'm going to stay away this year. But they fire Luke Getsy. They hire Scott Turner as the new OC. Joe Philbin is the offensive line coach now. They're filled with former head coaches, and now they bring in Norv, Scott's dad, to also help with that offense. For the Saints, where do you see them going in the offseason? And we'll get into the Raiders in a second. But for the Saints right now, who started 2-0, looked like an offensive powerhouse, there's lose 7 in a row. Then you lose to the Panthers. And the second you lose to the Panthers, who might not even make the college football playoff.
Dude, the whole team went on Twitter and started shitting on the team.
They did.
All the players were like shitting
Cam
on
Jordan
the team.
didn't even want to go in the fucking locker room.
No, like, and here's the deal. Cam Jordan's is talking shit. Bro hasn't had a sack in like 2 years. So, like, let's relax with Cam Jordan a little bit. Here's the problem is people are putting Derek Carr MVP tickets in after 2 weeks of the season. So you lose
Michael
7
Thomas
in a row.
wasn't one of those guys.
Yeah, not great to lose 7 in a row. But like, where do the Saints go from here? I don't know. You trade Lattimore. Well, we'll get into that. But you trade basically your best player.
Yeah.
He threw Olave a hospital ball. Guys gonna have to go see like concussion specialist, probably a therapist.
Fourth concussion now.
Yeah, like and so for me, it's like, and then you have Alvin Kamara. So where do you go? You don't. If you have the pick to take a quarterback, you probably have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Derek Carr is serviceable. I really do. I really do think Derek Carr is serviceable, but he's been terrible. I know he was banged up, but like you're throwing out guys that are bums. Like who they have? Desmond Ritter playing games.
Spencer Rattler.
Spencer Rattler, same guy. Exact same guy. Literally the same person.
And that fits with talking about the Raiders because Desmond Ritter might be starting for the Raiders.
Like it's so to me it's I don't know where they go. Again, if you acquire a top 5 pick, which likely they're probably going to do, you have to consider the quarterback position. But we'll get into this in the offseason, but it's not a good quarterback class. It's not.
The quarterback class this year is going to be so scrutinized and over scrutinized. Like, I don't know who's going to be good. Like, there are guys coming out. Cam Ward looks like he can play anywhere, but he's also turnover prone. He's going to piss a lot of people off, especially early. And are people going to stick with him? Shedeur Sanders, unbelievably talented,
super accurate,
but holds the ball too long, and he's going to take a lot of dumb sacks. Garrett Nussmeier looks like a guy who can play in the NFL, but he's another guy who comes down to crunch time lately. He's struggling. I thought he was a baller for the most part. Now
that
lately it looks like he's falling apart.
He played was one of the worst second halves of quarterbacking I've ever seen in my life.
It is, and he's got an even worse matchup coming up we're going to talk about because I think he's going to get – there's a good chance he really struggles this week. But Jalen Milroe? What is Jalen Milroe? Is he Jalen Hurts at best? I mean, you're looking at guys coming out, you don't know what you're going to get, but all these guys have one thing in common. They're going to need developed properly.
Correct.
And teams aren't doing that at all. Yeah. So Luke Getsy fired, and Oakland, Vegas, Los Angeles, wherever they are, they can't seem to get out of their way. They don't know what they want to do. And Mark Davis seems to not think clearly. And if you've ever looked at his haircut, you know that he doesn't. I mean, the guy's a billionaire with a bowl cut, man. Come on.
Listen, dude, only a billionaire could have a bowl cut.
That's fine.
That's the thing. But the problem is and we were both kind of, I feel like, pounded the table for Antonio Pierce. And I feel like we fall into this shit every year that we get excited about the interims. I think both of us probably have been wrong more than we've been right about the interim head coaches. But he's lost it, dude. That team's a dumpster fire. He's not surviving the season.
They don't know their identity. Like, you look at the Raiders historically, they're the biggest, toughest, fastest team. That's how you build them. They haven't won since Rich Gannon was around.
But they're also when Rich Gannon, Gardner Minshew, and Aiden O'Connell, and those guys aren't good.
And when Rich Gannon was around, we were walking around with Discmans hoping they had skipped whatever it was. I don't even know, detection. Like, That's how long
If you give
ago
me
it
a
was.
left-handed quarterback, I don't care if they throw 50 picks. That's an elite player to me.
You got a pretty good left-handed quarterback, former quarterback, teaching your quarterback right now, and that's
Mark
pretty
Brunell.
solid. Mark Brunell.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, let's move on from them. Chuba Hubbard extended by the Panthers today.
Stupid fucking Panthers, just dumb as fuck.
Took
Got
Jonathan
Miles
Brooks.
Sanders. Miles Sanders, they paid a ton to.
What are they doing?
You just draft a dude, and then you're going to turn around and pay a fucking mediocre. Chuba Hubbard's fine. He was awesome at Oklahoma State. He's fine. But, like, you know when you're a bad franchise is when your main investments have been in running backs. Like,
Well, they traded all the receivers, and they only had like 3 to begin with.
Yeah, right. And Bryce Young won, which, by the way, I was super happy to see Bryce Young win because
As was I.
it's been tough. But like, yeah, then you make all the wide receivers. I don't know what they're doing, and I'm not saying Chuba Hubbard's a bad back. It's just
he's been solid
as a franchise that sucks. Why are we keep paying all these running backs money? Miles Sanders isn't good.
No, he wasn't.
So
good.
why is Miles Sanders being paid $24 million?
Anyone who drafted him in fantasy for 3 years in Philadelphia knew how this was going to end. It was a terrible decision.
And that's why, dude, just having the right front office in place in this league is so important because, I'm not saying the Panthers can't be good. And like, I have a buddy who's a Panthers fan. I root for the Panthers, right? Like we've been Lions and Browns fans. I'm all about rooting for the shittiest teams.
Yeah.
I want them to win. But like paying running backs and paying Miles Sanders, who doesn't even really touch the ball, and when he does, he's irrelevant. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
I mean, Chuba Hubbard might be their best offensive weapon right now. So,
sure, and I like Chuba Hubbard. I do,
keep him.
I do,
Fine.
but it's the multiple paying running backs over the last 2 years that doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, is this like is this Dan Morgan making up for the previous regime mistake in signing Miles Sanders? I'm going to give me a second here. Talk about the Panthers for a second. I'm going to look for the out here on the contract for Miles Sanders real quick.
Yeah. Here. So update from the Ward headquarters. The Panthers suck. And the problem is in the NFL, all teams don't ever pay running backs. You don't see it. You don't see it. You just watch the New York Giants let Saquon Barkley walk because the teams don't pay running backs. Now, there's teams like the Detroit Lions that value running backs, but the Detroit Lions just got Dave Montgomery on the cheap ass deal because the Detroit Lions do savvy front office moves.
They do.
You're paying Chuba Hubbard. Like, would you give me David Montgomery or give me Chuba Hubbard? Give me Dave Montgomery. And Dave Montgomery is going to be making significantly less than Chuba Hubbard. So franchises, front offices just need to figure their shit out. And bad front offices, as you and I are very familiar with, we're probably, I could argue there's not another podcast out here that knows bad front offices as bad as we do.
100%.
You can kill a team. And again, is it the biggest deal in the world that they send an session? No, but it just tells me they're fucking stupid just because of the Miles Sanders deal. Like what are you doing? Like you trade away all your good players, and they're not very good. Don't get me wrong; they're not great players.
I mean,
you're trading away wide receivers. You're putting a rookie quarterback out there that you benched, and now you have him back, and he has 0 people to throw to, and the team's mediocre. It's like what are you doing? What are you doing, Carolina?
The hope here is, by the way, the update on Miles Sanders. They can get out of the Miles Sanders contract with a dead cap number of only 2.95. And the contract with Chuba Hubbard is 4 years, $33 million, which now will make him less paid than David Montgomery because of the new extension David Montgomery just signed a couple weeks ago. But the original David Montgomery contract, 3 years, $18 million, was cheap as hell and savvy move by Brad Holmes and the Detroit Lions. But the Detroit Lions bring a guy in because they had an identity and that fit what they want to do. And then when they drafted a guy in the first round, it still fit. For the Panthers right now, they need to figure out what their identity is. If you want to use Brooks, which we haven't seen him, and everyone in fantasy is holding on to this guy, and the Panthers fans are holding out for a guy who was a 46 overall pick, if you're going to use him and Hubbard together, and they're going to build some kind of thing as the Detroit Lions have, because you got a linebacker as your new GM and Dan Morgan, if that's the kind of thing you're going to do, then figure it out. But as of right now, you're 100% dead on with the fact that it kind of looks stupid because you need help everywhere, including that offensive line, and you need to figure out what your quarterback is, and maybe this is how they're going to help him. Maybe they're going to establish some sort of identity as a run team and let Bryce figure it out. But right now,
it's a
it does
restart
look
period,
like
Jeremy. It's a restart period. They're
Yeah.
finally out underneath the terrible deal they made with the Bears, right? Like, so it's time to stop making shitty moves. And I don't think that's a great one.
No. As of right now, it doesn't look that way, but Chuba's good for Chuba. He deserves it, but maybe not for this team.
Chuba's
Moving on
right here.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's why we want to fill that in. Speaking of teams that have played shitty, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This week, Trevor Lawrence might be out. I almost called him Travis Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence might be out. We might see Mac Jones. You excited to see Mac Jones?
No.
Good enough. And while one guy's out, another guy might be coming back, and Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey possibly coming back after missing most of the year with an Achilles. That's a big game for him to come back. They're off a bye. They're facing Tampa Bay. That could be a fun one. Anything else you want to get out of headlines before we move on?
No, it's good to have Christian McCaffrey back, though.
It is. Happy to see CMC, who looked absolutely miserable in his Halloween costume this week.
That was great, by the way.
Absolutely miserable. Speaking of Halloween costumes around the league, do you see any good ones you liked for NFL players or anything you didn't like? Or did you even see any?
I didn't see any. Did you see any good ones?
I saw Matt Stafford and Kelly Stafford as Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, which was weird because Kelly was ripping on Taylor not that long ago per the Swifties. So I don't know how that went over, why they did that. I think George Kittle dressed as Star Wars or something with his wife. I wonder if
Taylor Swift still plans to leave the country.
I have no idea. She can do whatever she wants with her billions upon billions of dollars that I am responsible for giving probably half that at this point, it feels like. That's why I have to sit with a green screen.
You're poor.
Like
You're poor because she's rich.
I am poor because she's rich.
Yeah.
100% right.
Yeah. It's tough scene for the young man.
It comes up, man. Wait until that's Swifty fever.
My daughter wants to go when she comes into town. Yeah. I'm going to take her to Swift Taylor if I can. She's already been to one, but
it's insane. Anyway, let's move on to Friends of Football. We got a video to show you this week. Speaking of Friends of Football, this video brought to you by Jake McGrady TV on TikTok at Jake McGrady TV, as you will see. Let's watch this one.
Kelsey. Hey, Kelsey. How does it feel your brothers are back at Kelsey, can I get a fist bump? Kelsey, can I get a fist bump?
That video. Jake McGrady TV giving us that video, letting us use it. Gronk spike, Gronk smash, Kelsey smash with the phone. Dude, what'd you think about that whole situation?
I mean, I just think that social media has allowed people to think that they can just say and do whatever they want. I've never seen a phone smashed as hard as that phone was smashed. Listen, Jason Kelce, the only problem I have is that he apologized for it. I get he has a job at ESPN and whatnot. That's fine. But at the same time, like, I feel like 99% of America was like behind him in this.
Oh, 100%.
Which doesn't happen. I mean, especially with the world, like the world we live in right now, not everybody's agreeing with anything ever. It's like if I could post a picture of ramen and they'd be like, that's racist. Asians started ramen. You shouldn't be eating it. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like where we're at. Right
hang on. You talked about ramen, and because this is what we do on this show is go off topic or go in weird ways. Have you seen the thing where people are putting marker on ramen and then pressing it to paper and it apparently makes Chinese symbols? Have you seen this?
No, dude. You got two young daughters in the age where they see shit like that.
I saw this. This popped up on TikTok when I was looking for other stuff. I'm like, hang on a second, I got to see this.
Yeah.
Like, what am I smoking? But anyway, back to what you were saying about everyone agreeing the fact that Jason Kelce really did nothing wrong here.
Yeah, he did nothing wrong, man. Like, here's the problem with today's day and age. The guy says derogatory slur to the LGBTQISTTOW community.
LMNOP.
And he repeats what the young man said, and,
Mhm.
and the guy has to apologize. And my favorite thing is like, it's under investigation. What's the investigation? We saw the whole fucking video. The guy just smashed his phone. Jason Kelsey pays the dude for a new phone, and the guy gets to have a clip saying, "Oh, look, I talk shit," but like, it's weak. It's boring. This shit happened all the time 25 years ago. We just didn't have social media, right?
100%.
Like the guy's lucky he didn't get pummeled, but Jason Kelsey apparently has to apologize for ESPN, but it's just ridiculous, dude. The guy, don't talk shit, and that doesn't happen. Sorry about your phone.
Especially, don't say it about the man's family. Like, I'm sorry. We have a whole, like you brought it up, the internet has ruined people because we have a whole group of kids who have never fucking been punched in the mouth. Like,
Correct.
You hide behind a keyboard and talk shit, and there's nothing that happens to you because you're hiding behind a keyboard. And then when you do that shit in real life, there's repercussions, boy. And yeah, Kelsey came back at him after he said, "Hey, who's a faggot now?" Whatever. That's when he had to apologize because ESPN doesn't like that. Obviously, it's a derogatory term. But Kelsey's around our age, man. Growing up, obviously, maybe it doesn't make it right, but that's how he said shit. Especially when you did something in that. Who's that now?
It's the play stupid game,
Like,
win stupid prize.
Exactly.
Like, sorry, but not sorry for you.
Like, you got your phone smashed. You're lucky. Jason Kelsey's 6'3", 295. And that boy who decided to fuck with him, very tiny kid. Like, Jason Kelsey throws 340-pound defensive tackles out of the club. He could have destroyed that kid. The fact that he
100%.
held it together when he was already drinking, carrying his garage beers with him, and he held it together enough to only smash that boy's phone, that kid's lucky he didn't get his face smashed. I mean, come on. And I
agree.
understand why he had to apologize. I'm with you on that. It sucks he had to. But yeah, he said, "I let hate take over hate," whatever.
Yeah,
Like, come on.
we got to stop apologizing for shit.
I mean, bro, shit happens in the real world, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It just,
I mean, nothing. Yeah, let's move on.
let's move on to the college football playoff, Drew. Our first rankings come out, and I would like to thank my kid for coming up with this little.
Yeah,
Our,
looks good.
Our FCFS pod graphics department, my kid Scarlett. So we look at the first rankings here. And when I'm looking at this, you got Oregon ranked number 1. Ohio State's actually number 2, but because you have to win your conference to get one of those first round buys, they're in the number 5 seed. BYU gets a 4, Georgia 2, Miami 3. But looking at some of these first round matchups, man, Indiana, Tennessee, that'd be a fun matchup. Bama and Texas again. Notre Dame, Penn State. Couldn't care less about that one. We'll talk
That's
about
a
that
helmet
maybe
game.
more.
That's just a pure helmet game, right?
It
there.
is. But
Top
Boise
2
State
helmet.
and Ohio State, like Ashton Ginty coming to the shoe for a playoff game, that could be a lot of fun to see. But as I'm looking at this, I got a couple questions for you. First off,
I can't handle BYU getting a bye and sitting there. I just can't. It's not something I can personally. It's not going to happen. But right now
I mean,
it is.
they got a big game this weekend. They got to beat Utah, and Utah's been god awful since Cam Rising has become whatever he is now. He's disappeared. 40. I mean, yeah, he's old. He's got brittle bones. It happens. Take your osteo biflex or whatever that is that you sell at the end of Jeopardy or some shit in between that and political commercials. But anyway, looking at these, you look at this. These are all name brand squads. Like, is this how this thing's going to be? Is this for the first one? Is it going to be like, hey, the college football playoff is going to get together and they're like, hey, we got to get all these name brands in to get people excited about it. Are we going to see a bunch of name brand teams coming in? And that's about it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's going to hit like crack. It's going to be great.
It is going to be great.
I mean,
you look at some of these matchups, man.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
I mean, the fact Indiana is a team in the playoff right now is bonkers to me, but they deserve it. Their head coach has been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is going to be fun, dude. And yeah, there's going to be, and I think for teams like BYU, this is the reason, and Boise State rather as well. Like, this is the reason the 12-team playoff is better. Now, do I think Ohio State would probably beat the shit out of Boise because Boise can't stop anybody? But they have Genty.
I mean, Boise State lost on a final play to Oregon.
Yeah. No, Boise State's legit. Like, I'm just saying, like, Boise State would never be in a playoff.
Oh, no, I'm with
if
you.
we were not in this format. And this is why this format's fantastic.
100% with you. Now, if you're one of these teams, would you rather get a bye or would you rather get that home playoff game? Or as a fan, not even as a team, as a fan.
Oh, as
like,
a fan, I want to play.
Okay. I'm with you on that because seeing that matchup, I would love to see Boise State come into the shoe. Mid-December, early January, that'd be a lot of fun to see.
And then Ohio State goes to BYU.
Yeah, that's going to be a bowl game. I think the quarterfinals become bowl games.
I don't even know what the fuck.
Yeah, quarterfinals become bowl games because they still got to finish the bowl setup. Semifinals, bowl game, national championship, the normal. Now you look at these. If this was going to happen right now, who you got? Ohio State or Boise State? Both going to Ohio State.
Ohio State. I also think Miami loses 1 or 2 games, by the way. They've been holding on for dear life. They've been playing with fire.
Have. And basically Cam Ward right now is basically like Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield when they're at Oklahoma, where they had to make up for their defenses being garbage all season. So we look at that. You got Ohio State and BYU. I'm taking Ohio State. You taking Ohio State?
Yeah.
Okay, they're moving on to the semifinal. Indiana and Tennessee. Now, that could be a fun one. Indiana really hasn't played anyone, but that offense, pretty solid with Rourke. Defense shows up. They play really well in the fourth quarter. Tennessee's been up and down. Who you got in that one?
Tennessee.
All right. Tennessee and Oregon.
Oregon.
Okay, so Oregon would move on to face Ohio State in the semifinals. That's a fun game. We saw what happened earlier. All right, Bama and Texas.
Bama. Texas isn't back.
Because that seems to be the official show stance more so than not, even though we said it one time they were back. I'm going to go with you on Bama. So Bama, because Kalen DeBoer is going to get that together. He's too good of a coach, I feel like. So they're going to move on. Who you got, Bama or Miami?
Bama.
Okay, I'm with you. Take Bama. Notre Dame and Penn State. And I don't really give a shit bowl.
Penn State.
Who you got? All right, Penn State. I got Penn State getting stomped by Georgia.
Yeah.
So they move on, and then it's Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Oregon, and it's basically SEC Big Ten conference matchups again. Who you got, Georgia, Bama?
Georgia.
Okay. Georgia in the Natty. Oregon, Ohio State.
I see this is where. Give me Oregon.
Okay. Oregon.
I mean, Oregon owns Ohio State. Like, you can't argue it.
They do.
Yeah, I mean.
And by the time the actual seeds come out, it's probably going to happen because Oregon's probably going to face Ohio State once again in the Big Ten championship game. Correct. As long as Ohio State takes care of their business, Oregon takes care of theirs. So if the national championship game is Oregon and Georgia, who you got?
Oregon.
Same, because I don't trust Carson Beck. Yeah,
no,
this is fun.
He's been mediocre at best.
This is going to be so much fun to see. Let me see how my mouse works here. I got to do this.
You just kind of rotate it around and click on shit.
Well, yeah, I got the screen going for one side, and it's not going on one side.
You're doing well. But no, this is fun. Like, this is fun.
So, yeah. Moving on to our next subject here. Let's get back in the NFL trade deadline. Drew, who made the best trade at the deadline? The Browns and Lions? Yeah, this is also done by my kid. It's part of the graphics department here. She put it together pretty nice.
I think it's the Chiefs, dude.
But can't go wrong with after what DeAndre Hopkins did on Monday Night Football this week.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, Hollywood Brown may come back later in the season. Like, they don't have a lot at receiver, and Travis Kelce looks old. Oh my God, he had 11 catches for 109 yards the other day.
Didn't he have like 70 catches for 54 yards?
Yeah, listen, I'm not saying Travis Kelce completely washed, but I of course I like this Darius Smith deal, but I think that the Chiefs needed this. They might be undefeated, but that team is not the best team in football right now.
No, they just find a way to win.
Correct.
That's the crazy thing about it. Now, let's get back into that game because I wanted to bring this up, when we were talking about last week first, and I forgot about it. If you're the Buccaneers, you're in Arrowhead, do you go for the tie in overtime, or do you go for the win after you ran that defense down? That defense was huffing and puffing. Do you go for 2 in that point?
Yes. And the reason that I say that is you're down Godwin. You're down Mike Evans.
Mhm.
You're depleted on offense. Kate Otten, by the way, been fantastic.
Absolutely.
But I think you absolutely go for the win. 100%. Like the Buccaneers are a team right now that they're losing some games, but that's a good football team. And that's a team that can move the ball even without them. But they're a different team, and you're on the road. You go ahead and you go for the kill, in my opinion.
I'm 100% with you, and especially the way that defense looked absolutely dog tired. You look at some of these other trades, Raiders and Jets, Devontae Adams, couldn't care less because I think the Jets still suck. Deontay Johnson, a proven Pro Bowl wide receiver at one point, somehow a 5 and a 6 on that one, and you get Jonathan Mingo for a 4. Don't understand. Amari Cooper to the Bills, love that trade for the Bills. That's been really good. Marshawn Lattimore to the Saints, or from the Saints to the Commanders. They gave up a lot. But Marshawn Lattimore is a 28-year-old corner, so has a lot to prove. He knows he's going to get one more contract before it's all said and done.
Yeah.
He's got a lot to prove, and that's a 7-2 Commanders football team that we didn't think they'd be buyers at this point. They had 9 draft picks to spew out and do whatever they wanted with. Solid for them. Any other trades you want to talk about?
I think the Commanders are buying a little too early. I mean, I know they're 7-2, and like I get it. Like you're going to push all the chips in. But that team's going to be good as long as Jaden Daniels stays healthy, which is a big if. But I think they bought too early because I don't think that's one of the better teams. I mean, that's not one of the best teams in the NFC. You can't tell me that team is going to beat the Detroit Lions in Detroit. I just don't personally see that. Look, you swing for the fences, and that's and they should like I get it. You swing for the fences, but like. I think that this is a year too early for the Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say with the Commanders though. Like, you look at the rest of their division; they're dominating. That the Eagles are up and down. Commanders have just been good. I mean, yeah, they got lucky to beat Chicago, a team that has completely fallen apart since that game. It seems
Caleb Williams sucks.
Caleb Williams throwing under 50% completion rate. The defense not doing well. They gave up a big run before the end of half last week.
That was fucking atrocious.
And then you got DJ Moore walking off the field. I mean,
imagine giving up a draw play for a touchdown at the end of the half. All that is a terrible coach football team. That's all that is.
Well, the way they lost that game against Commanders was definitely terrible coach. You give up those extra 15 yards.
Bro out there taunting the fucking crowd.
Yeah, and then Stevenson, absolutely terrible.
And then he turns around and tips the ball to Brown for
he was supposed to be covering.
Yeah.
So for the Bears, yeah, awful. The Commanders, 7-2, like, why not? Why not go for it? They're going to probably keep Lattimore a few more years. Maybe they did this just to get ahead. Like the Bears did with Montez Sweat, where they wanted to make sure they were getting this guy.
Yeah.
Understand that.
I'm all for swinging, by the way. I'm all for swinging. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it's early for the Commanders because I don't think they're winning.
Oh, I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl either. I don't think they're probably – I mean, right now, the Niners are not a great team as far as record-wise, but I would take the Niners over them anytime. I mean, your Detroit Lions are clearly far and away the best team in the NFC right now. I mean, outside of you as the Lions, NFC's a wild card, so why not?
Right. I agree. I just don't know Jaden Daniels' sustainability with the way he plays. I honestly don't.
No, I mean, we've thought the same thing about Lamar Jackson, and a lot of times we've been proven right because by the time the playoffs come, he's beat up.
It's wear and tear, man. You're not supposed to take hits like that as a quarterback. But the other thing is that's what he does best. Similar to Lamar Jackson. I'm not comparing the two players whatsoever, but that's what they do best. So like you can't take that away either. You know what I mean? Like it's tough. So we'll see. I mean, but as a fan of a team, if I'm a Redskins fan or Commanders fan,
whoa, we're saying faggot on this show and Redskins. I mean, canceled.
Yeah, but you love it, right? Like that's all you want from your team is like when you have the opportunity to buy and you're in that position, you buy. And I respect it, and I love watching Washington. They're fun.
For Washington right now, this is the first time they've been 5 games over 500 since 1996. I mean,
Snyder,
that's insane.
Snyder difference.
Yeah, Dan Snyder's been terrible. Let's move on to game picks. This week, we've got a Europe game. We have a Europe game that is in Germany, and this is possibly one of the worst things to happen in Germany in a long time. There's been some crazy, awful things happening in Germany. This one's live from Allianz Arena, home of FC Bayern Munich. This is Danny Dimes and the New York Giants, led by Brian Daboll, against the aforementioned, the afor hated, the afor ripped on, and I'm just saying afor before everything, Carolina Panthers. This is the football we want to show Europe, to get them away from soccer, to get them away from rugby, to get them to want to watch American football. And you know what? The last time there was a Germany game, it was great. They were singing Country Roads before the game, and now we're going to pay them back by sending them the Giants and the Panthers. Drew, who you got in this fantastic NFL football game? That's
the
at
Giants.
9:30 a.m.
Yes. I give you the Giants. Like, here's the deal, though. It's like you want to keep promoting the game overseas. Stop sending fucking the Panthers and Jacksonville and the Giants and the Patriots. Like, stop doing that. Like they want to grow the game, but they send the shittiest teams.
Yeah.
And like if we sat down before the season, we could say like the Patriots are shit, the Giants are shit, the Panthers. Like, we knew these teams were going to be shit. The Jaguars are shit. So those are the teams you keep sending. I will be watching this because I'm a degenerate, and I'm sure I'll have like a Danny Dimes like over rushing prop or something. But that's the only reason anybody should watch this game.
Yeah, give me
the over under is 40.
Prop. Is that what it's at? I know Giants are still minus 5.5.
Down to 6.5.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, this is going to be an ugly game. Give me the Giants in this one, even though I'm rooting for the Panthers. Like, I would love to see Bryce Young win again, but
Me too.
They're just not a good football team right now.
I'm just not putting U.S. currency on fucking Bryce Young.
No,
sorry,
not at all. All right, talking about other crappy football teams, New England Patriots at the Chicago Bears. I had this one at minus 6.5 last look. The over/under 38.5 last look I had on it.
Yep.
Who you like in this one?
Give me the Bears. Let's just move along from these two fucking games.
This is a crucial game for Caleb Williams because not only is Jaden Daniels out playing him, Drake Mays looked pretty damn good and limited availability through a game-tying pass last week, and then they didn't go for two, and they ended up losing in overtime.
Yeah.
Actually,
last play was crazy, by the way.
He ran around for 14 minutes.
Yeah, bro, I got a sandwich and everything.
I was out of breath for him.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal, dude. I just would hate for a Bears quarterback to not pan out. I really would.
Would you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
none of them have for 2 decades, but
I mean, that's a team. They haven't thrown for 4,000 yards ever.
Yeah,
and your team's going to throw for 4,000 yards in like
in a league where everybody throws for 4,000 yards, dude. That's the thing. Like, everyone's throwing for 4,000 yards in this league.
It is absolutely ridiculous how bad they are. Bills, led by current MVP favorite apparently in the betting markets, Josh Allen, who's played pretty damn good. They're 4.5-point favorites over the Colts, starting Joe Flacco because why not start Joe Flacco, who didn't look very good last week against the Vikings, but who do you like in this one?
He was fucking dog shit. Don't sugarcoat it. He was terrible.
Yeah, he was.
So here's the deal. I'm gonna get on it quick. The Bills win. The Colts made the biggest mistake ever by benching Anthony Richardson. By the way, I think Anthony Richardson dog shit.
Yeah.
But that is a terribly run organization for you to spend the number 4 overall pick and then in 12 games later bench him for a 40-year-old Joe Flacco.
Knowing he was a project?
Yep. And there was a fucking press conference. They're like, we know it's a project. It's not going to be a day one starter. Mm-hmm. Like, give me the Bills. The Colts are an embarrassment.
And for the Colts, like, was this because is this like a way to regain the locker room from him asking out for a quarterback tapping out, which is insane?
It was deeper than that. It's deeper than that, dude. You don't bench a guy completely off of that when especially when he's 23 years old.
Like, he knew he wasn't going to be good. He threw one of the best balls we've seen all season at the beginning of the year. He's also thrown some of the worst passes we've seen all season.
He sucks.
But at 4-4, like, I understand the hope is that he's going to step back for a second and learn, but if this was the plan, you should have done this from the start. not throwing him in.
I
Obviously,
just
he was
hope
hurt last
Flacco
year.
throws 4 picks so your idiot fucking fan base shuts up a little bit.
Oh, please. Please.
Respectfully, of course. Respectfully.
For the people who were ripping on Jameis Winston last weekend for the Cleveland Browns, he's doing the same shit Flacco did. You're 1-1 with him right now, basically. You beat the Ravens. I'm not. Okay, we'll talk about that.
If you ever watch fucking Jameis Winston, this is Jameis Winston is. Like,
yeah.
It's just what it is. Like, it's just fact. Like, he's not going to, you're not going to all of a sudden rattle off 7 wins because he's going to throw 4 picks occasionally.
The only difference between Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston right now, other than the fact ethnicity and the fact that one's like a fucking cartoon character. And I love Jameis for that. Jameis is entertaining as hell.
He's all you got entertainment-wise right now, my friend.
It's not good. But, hey, give me Jameis for a few more games. Anyway, Vikings. Did we both take the Bills in that game? I think we did. Anyway, Vikings, 4.5-point favorites. Well, the last time I wrote this down, which was probably yesterday. Now with the Trevor Lawrence, I think this is up to 7.5.
Yeah, 7.
The Trevor Lawrence news. The Mac Jones news. I mean, if we're seeing Mac Jones, that's not good. This is at Jacksonville. Vikings should roll in this one easily, I would guess. Yeah, I got the Vikings. Okay. Broncos at Chiefs. The Chiefs getting one of the rare 1 o'clock football Eastern football games. What? They're not the 4:25 game? They're not in prime time? What the hell? 8.5-point favorites over the Broncos. Bo Nix last week against the Ravens. He struggled. Threw some bad passes. But Bo Nix, you're living the whole Bo Nix experience. You don't know what you're going to get each week. Bo could run for 60 yards. He's basically playing like a better Danny Dimes for the most part, and the fact that he actually throws touchdown passes. Cortland Sutton's coming on the past few weeks. I mean, I don't know what to expect out of this one. The Chiefs never cover these big games.
No, I like
it's a divisional game.
The Broncos to cover, but the Chiefs to win. Like,
yeah, Chiefs should win this game.
Nothing like being compared to a poor man's Danny Dimes.
Well, I mean, I'd rather have Bo Nix.
That's gotta feel good. You know my thoughts on Bo Nix, but
yeah, Bo. I mean,
we've been doing this show for years. I've said things about Bo Nix that.
I mean, to be fair, it was Auburn, and Auburn Bo Nix was a different dude. And I've seen some things out of Bo Nix that I like, and some things I don't like. And I mean, I don't know. We'll get back into it. If I can pull these papers apart, we'll get into the next game here. Falcons, 3.5-point favorites at the Saints.
Yeah.
Saints covered one of the last 7 games as far as that. They started 2-0. They've dealt with injuries. The Falcons have really turned it on after not starting hot. Kirk Cousins looks good. Darnell Mooney looks like a dog. Bijan Robinson looking like the guy they drafted and actually using him as the guy.
Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah,
oh, look at that. Great minds. Kyle Pitts is alive, baby.
Yeah,
like what the hell,
Falcons, dude?
Give me the Falcons all day, and that 3.5-point spread. If that stays, I like that. Niners with Run CMC coming back. They're coming off a bye. Bucks were scrappy last week, but they're giving up 32 points a game on average in their last 5. Cade Otton and Baker can only do so much. Bucky Irving is basically made Rachaad White worthless. I mean, Niners 5.5-point favorites. Even though this is at Tampa, Niners coming off a bye. This should be an easy win for the Niners.
I agree.
Look at us just agreeing on everything, popping out Kyle Pitts at the same time. Steelers, led by Russ, who looks like he's kind of playing like the old Russ, throwing moon balls, as we love to say. At the Commanders. Commanders 3.5-point favorites. Like I said, 5 games over 500 for the first time since 1996. They had Lattimore. This is kind of a prove-it game for the Commies there at home.
It is. And the line's down to 2.5, so I will take
2.5.
Yeah, I mean Washington. I'll take Washington minus 2.5. We'll do Ward later, but look, the Steelers are it's a tough group. They went out, they got their wide receiver they were looking for at the deadline, but this is to me going to be just an ugly game to watch because I like the Commanders, but they're just it's not great football to watch on a week-to-week basis.
No, Jaden Daniels can make some exciting plays, but they're winning ugly, and that defense is playing really well. This could be a defensive battle for the ages. I mean, over-under, are the overs 45.5?
Yes, 44.5.
Okay, 44.5. It's gone down.
I like the over in it, to be honest with you.
I mean, this game could go either way, but you brought up the fact that the Steelers traded a 5th for Mike Williams. They added Preston Smith also for a 7th, I think. They need another edge rusher. They needed a wide receiver. George Pickens has been solid the last few games, but you can't trust George Pickens overall. And Mike Williams is a good thing. Mike Williams can catch the deep ball. Russ still throws a decent deep ball. That could be good for them. Give me the Commanders only because I hate the Steelers. Moving on to the 405 window. Titans at Chargers, the lowest total of the week, which I had on Tuesday at 37.5. But the Chargers are also 7.5-point favorites in this game. That Chargers defense is no joke. They can run the football. And Justin Herbert's really come on. And this is the Herbert hive here. Chargers should roll easily in this one, regardless if they start Mason Rudolph for the Titans or if they start Will Levis or if I can't think of another quarterback that I want. I mean, they could start Jake Locker. They could bring out a retirement. I mean,
Jake Locker, there's no way that he's still in the league. I feel like you're making, but yeah. Give me the Chargers. I'm not comfortable with the points, but give me the Chargers.
Yeah, I can see this being a 13-6 kind of game. 425 game. The Jets.
That would suck for everybody on Red.
It would. Especially since the only 4:00 game. Like then you go to 2 425 games, and the 2 425 games, not great either. Jets at Cards might be the best one in the 4:00 or 4:25 window.
It is.
Cardinals, 1.5-point favorites. Jonathan Gannon's got this team playing well. Kyler Murray's been okay. They've been good. Budda Baker's fun as hell to watch. James Conner just
James Conner touchdowns. Is the most underrated player in the league.
He is.
I watch him every week, and I'm like, I love that. He's just hard nosed. He gets all the yards that are given to him at a time. Yeah, I give you the Jets here though. If the Jets don't win this game, it's over for them. I feel like Devontae Adams got a little involved last week, so I'll take the Jets.
And Garrett Wilson made 2 amazing touchdown catches. Give me the Cardinals in this one. And James Conner, you're right, might be the most underrated, but I cannot stand the guy for some reason. I've never drafted him on a fantasy team.
No, you should. I don't know why. He's fucking good.
He is.
Me too. Maybe we'll remember that next year.
Ridiculous. Fantasy is insane. Eagles, 7-point favorites I had as of Tuesday. 41.5 is the total. What do you got there?
Yeah, give me the Eagles. I think Jalen Hurts sucks, by the way. I honestly do.
He's played better of late, but that defense has also carried them a lot.
He's got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, but I just don't think he's very good. Saquon Barkley is, of course, great. But I'll take the Eagles here because Cooper Rush sucks. But to me, is there no Sunday night game?
Oh, we got a Sunday night game. There is a Sunday night game. It's a very important one, especially for you. I will also take the Eagles. Both sides of the line's playing really well. Now we get to the Sunday night game. 3.5-point favorite, Detroit Lions. Back-to-back road games for them. They're traveling to Texans, who are wearing their candy paint jerseys. They're candy apple reds, where I feel like I'm going to start rapping a whole Post Malone song here. Texans got to prove something. They lost to the Jets last week in a weird game on Thursday night. It's put up or shut up time for Houston right now. They got to say they're a contender or a pretender. I understand they're hurt, and that offensive line has been trash. Laramie Tunsil, the most penalized player in the league. That's not good for a guy who is a perennial Pro Bowler. CJ Stroud he's still a hell of a quarterback. For all the people doubting him now, saying sophomore slump, he's got a lot of things going against him. Joe Mixon's been solid, but the Lions, they're a tank, man. They're a wagon. Best team in the NFC. This should be an easy win. It's only 3.5 points. I feel like that's trying to trap us a little bit, but I'm not going to overthink it. I'm taking the Lions. I'm pretty sure you are. What do you got to say about this game for your team?
Yeah, give me the Lions. I mean, here's the deal. Lions haven't lost on the road. They're 4-0 on the road. Here's the deal too: is you get J-Mo back. I just think that right now, and Nico Collins is trending not to play in this game. Mm-hmm. That's a big difference. Absolutely. I mean, Nico Collins on the field with CJ Stroud, it makes CJ Stroud that so much better. And here's the deal: the Lions have covered a spread over the last 2 years better than any team in the last 45 years of this league. So give me the Lions. Not to be a homer, but I think the Lions keep chipping away, man. Listen, here's the deal: the Lions are fucking really hard to beat right now because they're top 5 in DVOA on offense, top 5 in DVOA on defense. It's a good team. You add Zadarius Smith. I'll take the Lions.
And something you brought up the defense. And for all these teams that keep firing coordinators and they're not keeping consistency, it wasn't that long ago that Aaron Glenn, a lot of people in Detroit wanted him out. They stuck with him. And last week he looked creepy as hell with his glasses all rained and fogged up in Green Bay. And I mean, that defense is playing well. He's doing a good job with it. Brian Branch, also probably the second best player on that defense outside of Aiden Hutchinson. You missed him, and yet you guys still played really good defense because he's just got that team playing complete football.
Yep.
Lines are fundamentally sound around the board, and just more proof that, hey, stick with some guys, and sometimes it works out. But then again, if you stick with the wrong guys, it doesn't work out either way. Speaking of possibly the wrong guys, what happened to Mike McDaniel? Like, this guy was supposed to be he was fun, and now he looks like we've said, like a backroom strip club coke dealer.
Yeah.
Dolphins offense, yeah, they were better last week against the Bills, but divisional games are weird. I don't know what to expect from them. I mean, it's a long road trip for them they're going to LA to face the Rams and SoFi. They went from Buffalo to Miami. Now they're going Miami all the way out to LA. That team hasn't made sense. Jalen Waddle is hated by a lot of people right now.
Like 0 yards and a touchdown last week.
Well, he had 25 and then he ran 24 back and erased the over on Tua's passing yardage.
I saw that. That's
people flipping out. Terrible beat. One of the worst I've ever seen. And now they're going to face the Rams, who have turned it around, and they're the top of the NFC West. They're 2.5-point favorites. Last I looked, what do you got over there?
Yeah, I love the Rams.
Same.
I mean, Matt Stafford's playing really well. The dot to Robinson last week.
DeMarcus Robinson, all I do is catch touchdowns.
Yeah, the Rams, you get back Cooper Kupp. I mean, although Puka Nacua punched a guy and got ejected. So you got
the most mild-mannered dude punching a guy. Like, I saw that. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, but you get those two guys back, though, in my opinion, Matt Stafford is still really, really good. Give me the Rams. It's basically a pick 'em at home. It's -1. You just take the money line one way or the other.
Yeah. Give me the Rams in this one. What Les Snead has done is reloading that D, and they're missing, Aaron Donald retired. That D's young, and they're playing well. They're coming around. Really like what they're doing. That wraps up the NFL schedule. Let's go into some college games here. I had a few college games I want to talk about. Georgia -2.5 at Ole Miss. Who you liking that one?
Georgia. Although I don't love Georgia at all, but I think Georgia covers easy.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this, it really comes down to the quarterbacks. I think Jackson Dart's better than Carson Beck. Carson Beck's 11 interceptions in his last 5. But it really comes down to the Ole Miss D. Can they stop if they stop the run, then they can beat Georgia. Otherwise, I don't know. I mean, Georgia's going to do what they did against Texas. They're going to stop the run and force Jackson Dart to beat them. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to lean Georgia in this one, but I don't like either one. I couldn't make a pick if I was putting money on it, but give me Georgia to win this one. Michigan at number 8, Indiana. Indiana, 14.5-point favorites against the defending national champions. I mean, they've covered in 8 straight. What do you think about this game?
I mean, I like Indiana to win, but 14.5 is too risky for me. If it was 13.5, I would take Indiana. Mm-hmm. Indiana's going to win the game, but Michigan's still very good at lots of positions outside of the quarterback.
Yeah, they're still good on D. They can run the football. They're going to make this ugly. But the Hoosiers are right now the far better team. Hoosiers get better as the game goes on. They gave up 0 net yards to Sparty in the fourth quarter. I think if anything, if you want to take a sneaky bet in this one, take Michigan money line first quarter. Because
they were down 10-0. I mean, Indiana was down 10-0 to Michigan State last week. So,
I mean, this could be an interesting one. 11, Alabama. They're 3-point favorites at LSU. This is a night game in Death Valley. I feel like this is a CFP elimination game almost.
It is. Because both teams have 2 losses, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I give me LSU. I mean, and here's the reason: Death Valley at night.
14-0 or 13-0 under Brian Kelly, I believe, at night.
Milroe hasn't been. Remember, it was all about the sweet dancing video.
Yeah,
Brian Kelly did. Milroe, I just don't trust Alabama enough offensively. Give me LSU. This game could be a little bit of a shootout, though, because LSU has not been great at stopping anybody as well.
No, I think this is a big first quarter for LSU because if they get behind, like Milrow's been hurt, I think, but they're coming off a bye. I mean, if Bama starts hot, LSU loses this game, but LSU struggles with mobile QBs and Milrow is mobile as hell. I'm going to take Bama in this one. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. One more game before we move on to Ward's Wagers. Colorado, 3.5-point favorites. They're 20th overall. They got Texas Tech. Texas Tech vulnerable against the pass. Colorado known for explosive plays. This is a big game for Colorado because if they win this might be their path into maybe sneaking into the CFP. Maybe they show something. You got the best player in college football in Travis Hunter, who should win the Heisman Trophy for everything he does on both offense and defense. Who you like in this one?
Yeah, I'll take Colorado. They're not going to be the college football playoff, though, but I will take Colorado.
I'm with you. I'll take Colorado. I don't think they make the playoff either. Let's move on to Ward's Wagers. Last show we did, you were 1-2 in that week, 157, 96, and 5 overall. This is your first losing week of the season. Who you got this week, bud?
Yeah, I'll take the Lions. I know it's Homer, but they just continue to cover. So give me the Lions. I'll take the Rams -1 or pick them at home, whatever you want to do with that. And then the third play is I will take the Atlanta Falcons -4 on the road. So we'll take Atlanta -4 on the road. We'll take, you know what? I'm going to add a fourth. We'll also take Buffalo -4 on the road. So Buffalo, Atlanta, Detroit, and then we'll top it off on Monday Night Football with the Rams.
I like all those. Can't go wrong with any of those. The Lions, that 3.5-point spread just feels weird to me against a team who just lost to the Jets. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I try not to get too excited, but Detroit's dominating teams right now, and they get Jameson Williams back. I just don't see how they don't cover that 3.5-point spread. I hope they do.
Oh, I think they do easily. I think this is a 10-point game by the time it's done. I think they're just going to beat the hell out of the Texans. The Texans haven't been very good, even though they're at home. I like that. Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here tonight?
That's it, man.
All right. With that, thank everybody for watching, listening, whatever you want to do. Thank you at Jake McGrady TV on TikTok for letting us use the Jason Kelsey video. Thank you to my daughter Scarlett for building the graphics for us tonight. And thank you to you, Drew, for being part of the show, as well as everyone else. And with that, remember, as always, if you live your life to love, you love the life you live. Good night, kids.